Wee doggy.
I was surprised by this movie in many ways.
I gotta say, I was regretting my decision.
I think this would be something I'd show to my kids.
Oh, it's good to hear.
I think it's about a father's love for his child.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And a complete stranger's love for that man's
They
child.
wore really ugly outfits. Puke yellow, prom night, pale blue, you know.
I don't even know where to start with this
Definitely
film.
not a movie I would consider watching unless you tell me to. Howdy, I'm Derek,
And I'm Peter.
and this here is the Mog.
In this here podcast, one of us cousins trips it down to a live motion picture from when we was pups and forces them to endure its majestic majesty. And then we spin some yarns what made us piss ourselves while brought on the waterworks.
And whether it makes our cousins look all the more sweeter.
Cousins. And what film will we have today, Derek?
Deliverance from 1972.
Yeah.
And, as I like to call it, most vocal never lose a toe, but then again, some vocal.
Like Cletus.
It's like Jar Yoko.
Well, I had two. I had The Land of the Sideburns or Come Down in front of the Dirty Teeth.
Oh, man. Hey, Brian Dane, of all the cousins I could have married, you was my sister.
Oh, Cletus. Oh, man.
But this is my film.
This is your film. So
And,
I guess that means I should do the synopsis.
yes.
Okay. 4 friends decide to go on a kayaking trip to a lake that will soon be flooded and converted into a dam. Ed, played by John Voight, Lewis, Burt Reynolds, Barbie, Ned Beatty, and Drew, Ronnie Cox. But things take a dark turn from a holiday escape to a fight for survival when a chance encounter with 2 local mountain men ends with Bobby being raped and one of the locals being murdered.
Ooh. Well, that pretty much sums it up.
Without going into the detail, it's a pretty straightforward survival in the wilderness type tale.
It's a bit of a tale of Colonel Kurtz going down the river as well.
Yeah. Colonel Kurtz?
You know, the Apocalypse Now,
Oh, right.
Joseph
yeah.
Conrad thing.
I'm not very familiar with Apocalypse Now, actually.
Well, this was based on a novel by James Dickey of the same name, which he released in 1970. And Dickey was in it. He played the sheriff.
Oh, did he?
Towards the end, yeah.
I didn't realise
and it was
that.
terrifying.
He was he certainly personified.
And the author, he was on set and he was intimidating the actors. And he was saying, I'm going to tell you something I never told another living soul. Everything in the book happened to me. And he was like, just scaring everyone.
I heard he had fisticuffs with the director.
Yeah, they used to get boozed and they had to co-write the script by correspondence because they were just drunk all the time in person.
God.
And the director's John Borman.
Yeah.
And he later went on to do Taylor of Panama in 2001 with Pierce Brosnan, but also Excalibur, in 1981, which is Dara's Mog. Have you seen Excalibur? The King Arthur movie?
Yeah, I have, a long time ago. I don't remember too much about it. I remember a lot of soft film, if that makes sense. You know when they soften the
Oh, yeah.
the lens? So much lens softening.
The Vaseline on the on the lens effect. But this was very low budget. The studio sort of cut them back to $2 million. Like, he actually originally secured Jack Nicholson and Marlon Brando as the leads, but they were too expensive.
Wow.
And so John Voight and Burt Reynolds were it.
Yeah, Burt Reynolds, he's barely recognizable in this film.
He's so young, and apparently he was an ex-stuntman before this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
So
that kind of makes sense because he does look like he's telling everyone else what to do as a, burly dude, and they're all skinny.
he's looking very buff, yeah, in his tight vest.
And the music in this, the dueling banjos, this is really what made it famous.
Yeah.
Which won a 1974 Grammy Award.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah, but did you know that they used it without the permission of the person who actually wrote the music?
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, he. I think
Doesn't sound like Hollywood.
Yeah, I believe he sued them and won.
Oh, he won.
So they got some
all
of the
monies.
money out of it.
Oh,
Yeah. And Borman got a gold record for it as well, which is kind of hilarious. Which was then stolen by an Irish thief called Martin Cahill.
Oh, they stole the record.
Yeah, he stole his gold record, and actually, John Borman later made a film about that thief.
Oh, wow. Did he melt it down so he could get his front teeth back? I'm going to melt this down and get my teeth back.
Man, but those pearly whites was beautiful.
But this was also nominated for 3 Oscars: Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Film Editing. But it lost to like Godfather and Cabaret. So it was a pretty huge year. 1972, Godfather was released.
Yeah,
Francis Ford.
it's all the twos, isn't it? 1972, 1982.
Yeah.
It was in the New York Times 1,000 Best Movies Ever Made, wasn't it?
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
It's amazing that it was just done with no budget. That's why they had the dueling banjos. They wanted an orchestra, but like there was no money for it. So they said, okay, guitar and a banjo in a studio, a couple of hours.
Oh, that was amazing.
Yeah.
That was amazing, that duel. And all of the actors did their own stunts.
Yeah, that's incredible when you read about it.
Ridiculous. I was actually, when I was doing research for this, I was looking for how many deaths there were on the set of stuntmen, and I couldn't find any. And then I realized it was actually them that did the stunts.
So crazy. And the film was shot in sequence as well, which is also crazy. You don't really hear about that. They sort of shot it from beginning to end. Usually they'll cut around, but not in this one.
Oh, wow.
And the cinematographer, I should mention him, Vilmos Zsigmond. He's done The Deer Hunter, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh, wow.
He's Hungarian and he's mad. He's shot like tanks firing at him and all of this crazy stuff. So all of those river scenes, it was shot from a rubber boat and like they're all on the rapids and like technicians.
But it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, the water scenes, really incredible
Very
stuff.
good. I keep going back to this, but if it was done nowadays, you'd see the CGI in some of it,
That's the thing.
like the rapids.
And that's, I guess, why it stands out to me, because you do feel that bravery of the people involved.
You actually feel sort of a sense of tension around it when you're seeing them do these things. Knowing that it was done in 1972, there was not many effects that they could do for this.
Yeah. I guess we should get on to the acts.
Yeah. So, actually, I think before we do that, I need to know, Derek.
Oh, yeah.
How the hell, how old were you when you saw this?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I actually spoke to my mum and dad about this. They both love this film. And they used to watch it off a recorded tape, I think. And I spoke to my dad and he says, around 1985, so I would have been 4.
Oh my God.
And they watched it a lot, apparently.
But did this include the infamous scene?
Included everything, apparently.
Oh my God.
And so I guess...
That is insane.
I guess this describes my darker side. I don't have much memory of all of that stuff. And even the rednecks in this, I didn't realize they were rednecks. I thought they were just sort of unclean, scary, strange looking people.
Yeah. But my God, man, I couldn't watch that scene. That's just, and I have heard of that scene, but I didn't realize it was in this film.
Yeah, it's one of those things, unless you've seen it. But also, I remember the banjos scene very clearly in my mind. And the menacing surroundings, like the water and the trees and the creepy stillness, that sort of aloneness where you... as they head down the river. And do you remember when we went kayaking in Neutral Bay?
Yeah, I was thinking of that too.
When we went further up, I still get that vibe. I get the vibe from Deliverance.
Wow.
That something's going to happen.
Yeah, well, that was a pretty interesting occasion. We went, where was it again?
Neutral Bay, I believe.
Neutral Bay. We went kayaking together. We used to do that a lot. And I remember we got to the very edge before turning back, and that's when the storm started.
Yeah, we
and
were
it
caught
was
in a storm.
pouring down, and And then there was jellyfish all around us.
Oh my gosh.
So, and I was terrified because your history of falling out of kayaks has been well established.
I just wanted to drink the Brisbane River, you know.
How is that meningitis from the Brisbane River going?
I'm still getting my kidneys cleaned out.
Brown water.
Anyone that's willing to donate a kidney,
sharks.
Email us at the mug.
You seriously have fallen out so many times. I've had to ship you out of the Brisbane River like 3 or 4 times, I reckon.
But yeah, we should begin with Act 1.
Yeah. So my Act 1 is Lakes, Lewis, and lively music. What's yours?
Oh, I didn't have a name, but it is setting the scene with Lewis and his creepy sort of monologue over the intro. My gosh.
I didn't realize it was the actors at first. I thought it was actually like a radio station.
Oh, yeah.
And then I realized it was
very
a
ambiguous
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was good, though. A really interesting way of introducing people to the film at the start.
Oh, it was so creepy. It just starts with laughing and all of these scenes of the landscape being mined, and he's talking about the rape of the landscape. And really that was the theme of this movie, nature sort of trumping civilization.
Yeah. I thought it was how they introduced the cars and the demolition, starting in civilization and then getting closer and closer to the lake and taking them further away from that civilization.
Really menacing, hey. And it was done in like lots of wide shots with single takes as well. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did actually. And the thing is, you saying that it was really menacing. I didn't know what to expect with this film. I didn't do any research before I saw it. So with those cars and stuff, I didn't get a sense of menace, really. I got a sense of, I guess, quiet. And people just talking about the theme of the movie, you know, talking about the lake and that it's going to be demolished and this is their last chance to explore it and endure the wilderness and get away from it all.
I guess the menace for me came from just seeing all the real inbred people.
Well, when you get there, the tension is almost automatically there, particularly since Lewis is such a
just reminded me of Lewis from The Last Starfighter. Crapola.
It must be a grown-up Lewis. That's what it is.
Doesn't care about anyone.
But he was so aggressive with all of the forest people.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, man, is this going to escalate right at the beginning of the film?
Yeah.
Because I got the idea that it was a drama. But none of that seemed to happen. He was just really rude to them, telling them what he wanted them to do. And
they all came in very cavalier. You know, Bobby, he was just making fun straight out the gate.
Yeah, literally to their faces.
Yeah. But, oh man, those genetic deficiencies were real, apparently. They were real mountain people.
I liked it how they walk up to one of the shacks and this guy is doing something with an anvil. And he bangs the door open and he hits his hand and he swears. And the guys ask if they can help him and he goes, "It ain't as bad as I thought." Because he was like swearing and he'd whacked his hand. And
that was great. I didn't even know what was going on, man.
And they get the car to drive to the lake, and they bring some of the forest people with them.
Yeah, and I was wondering was it really Burt Reynolds driving? Because he was like erratic, and
I know he was the embodiment of a cocky bastard.
And they're both laughing, and they sort of stay in character. I don't know if that was ad-libbed, where he sort of, you know, they go up a massive jump and everyone goes flying.
Yeah, I got the feeling that was real, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But it actually, that laughter seemed, particularly from John Voight's character, to be almost like a "this is insane" type laugh.
I know,
that almost
that
hysterical laughing.
Yeah, so he might have really been driving by the background of this film. They couldn't afford like stunt men.
Yeah, well, the main character was a stuntman
Ex-stuntman.
in real life.
But they're great actors because, like, there's one scene where it's just Burt Reynolds staring. He's like at the edge of the water and he goes, sometimes you have to lose yourself before you can find anything. And it was really great delivery. It's sort of bringing back that biblical reference, like, you know, he who loses his life for my sake will find it. And, you know, deliver us from evil.
Yeah.
It was pretty good acting, I thought.
I didn't, when you just said that, I didn't really look too much from any religious undertones of the film, but they were there, weren't they?
Yeah. I guess I've always, I was brought up with Our Father, and whenever we said that line, deliver us from evil, I would think of Deliverance.
Oh my God. Man, that's just crazy. I still can't believe that you saw that when you were 4. That's ridiculous.
Oh man.
But I mean, I can, as a child, probably the scene that's the most awful you don't pick up necessarily as a kid.
Well, that's the thing. I have no memories of those scenes.
You wouldn't even know what's going on. You'd just be thinking that the guy's getting hurt or something, I guess, as a kid. I don't know, man, but still, I still can't believe that you... Unless it was like cut out. If it was a tape, maybe they cut it down or something. I don't know. Or your parents fast forwarded it.
I don't believe so. I think it was in its entirety.
It's like, and here's that funny bit that we don't want Derek to watch. It's just boring, Derek. It's just boring. You don't need to see anything.
But halfway through the first act, they're on the water, and that was incredible. That water footage, it just blew me away when I'm watching it again.
Yeah, it was great.
All the characters on the boat, and the actors look genuinely scared at the rapids, you know, as they're coming up to it.
Well, I think that would probably have been genuine fear.
I know. But you know, when you're watching it, and I didn't know the trivia, it's sort of like, wow, they're really selling it.
Well, I didn't know the trivia either, and I think that because there must have been some genuine fear there that you really felt it, because I really felt tense during a lot of those scenes. And
it was crazy.
But at the same time, because I didn't know what was coming up, it was almost like watching some type of documentary of city people going into a river and just enjoying the lake and surviving the lake. And I thought things would go downhill when one of them injured themselves or something. I didn't realize.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize what it was that was going to bring the drama and that survival element to it.
Yeah, I see.
So when they were relaxing and when they were going through the rapids, that seemed to be just very almost a documentary style to it, though with fantastic cinematography.
Yeah. There were some parts where they were going down the rapids backwards. And I was just wondering, how do you even script something like that?
Well, there was a scene. I don't even know if they did.
That's the thing. And I think it's all just the characters staying in character, like for throughout it. And yeah, I was reading up a little bit on how Jon Voight is a massive method actor, but Burt Reynolds, he's the complete opposite, you know?
Oh, right.
He'll just breathe a bit heavier, and whereas Jon Voight, he'll run for a half a minute just to get out of breath.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I mean, there is actually a scene where one of the actors tries to get purchase on the side of the river, and so he's right next to the stone wall trying to grab it, and then he goes under. And having done some kayaking myself, there are these underwater rapids that pulls people down and holds them there.
Yeah. And
I was thinking, oh God, is that what happened there? That's when I was thinking about, whether there were any people who died during the making of this film.
It's nothing to do with your morbid curiosity at all.
No. It was genuine concern.
And so we sort of move along to Act 2, which I like to call...
and what I called coitus, cliffs, canoes, and crumpled corpses.
Oh my God.
Because,
the coitus.
yeah, well, I mean, at this point, they decide to stop off on the side of the river.
Well, they were waiting for the others to catch up.
Yeah.
And it's Bobby. He's the chubby one. He's like Chunk from Goonies. It just reminds me of.
Yeah.
It's like, something's bad's going to happen to him. That's where they run into the hillbillies.
They run into hillbillies. And it's done in such a way that, like, because there's no music or very sparse music, the tension and the fear, all of that stuff is based around the acting. It's not being enhanced by anything behind it.
Yeah.
So it feels more real when, they go from having a conversation to realizing that things are getting really bad to basically not knowing what they're going to do.
But that scene was pure gold. It was one long take, and they were talking about it, saying like how long they rehearsed it just to make sure it was in one take. So you could see there was no trickery. There's no, there's nothing fake about it. And yeah, it's all in the actions as well. The way they sort of push him up against the trees and tie him up, and it's rough, and I have no memory of it, thank God.
Yeah.
My 4-year-old self.
I'm sure they must have fast-forwarded it or something.
Maybe. But I do remember that arrow that kills the redneck, I think.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because that's pretty unmistakable, man. Just goes right through him.
Yeah, well,
from behind.
And before then is the very infamous scene of the male rape.
Yeah.
With that infamous line, "Squeal, piggy."
Yeah. And Ned Beatty takes one for the team.
Oh man, it's because
he was to be tormented for years after. Every time someone saw him, they would just walk up to him on the street, squeal, squeal.
Hey, buddy, how you going? Seen your pigs lately? Oh wait, you are one.
So you didn't expect that at all, hey?
No, because I knew about this scene. Once I knew what was going on, it was like, oh right, I know where this is going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I must admit, I wasn't. I did perhaps move it forward a little.
Oh, he skipped forward. It's too traumatic.
Yeah. Well, when I was definitely that, but also I'm sitting in a lounge room. I'm watching this film, taking notes, and Alicia is sitting in the chair opposite me. She's on with her laptop out. So she's not actually seeing what's going on. She has no clue. All she can go by is what people are saying. So, and she's almost in my line of sight. So she's to my right in a chair, and the scene is going on in front of me. And I was just thinking, I really can't sit through looking at this, and Alicia just sitting there calmly on a laptop with our little dog on her at her feet.
You're a family man now.
I'm a family man watching this thing, and it's just such a two completely different.
I thought it was done very well though. It was pretty, as far as homosexual rape scenes, it was very tasteful.
Having done a review of them in the past, I'm sure.
They didn't show anything graphic, or it was more implied, So
yeah,
but they set it up like with real menace, like is like, now drop your pants.
Well, that's the thing. I didn't know how, because I'd heard about the scene. I didn't know how far into it they got or would go.
Most of it was just from John Voight's face, really, just sort of focus on his reaction of it.
Yeah.
And his purdy mouth.
His purdy mouth.
Oh, but
with those purdy mustache.
And after the arrow kills the
red, purdy pipe.
Oh, he had a pipe. That's right. Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
After the redneck gets dispatched by, Burt Reynolds, he comes and saves the day with his arrows.
Yeah.
it starts to get really gripping, I thought, where they're sort of discussing what to do with the body, you know, to bury it or to take it to the authorities.
Yeah,
that was
that's
really
right.
gripping drama, I thought.
Yeah, where they're sort of discussing the moral implications, whether it's, you know, the rule of law, or is it justifiable to hide this, or is it something that needs to be reported?
Yeah.
And it was interesting how that played out later in the film, where a passing comment by Lewis is that, you know, they're probably related to this man who was killed.
Mm.
And he's dead on, because when the police are investigating what's been going on, one of the guys is saying about,
missing.
you know, his brother-in-law is gone.
Yeah.
Can't find him none. So it's very so the decision that they make has ramifications later.
Yeah. And that dead guy, he was really convincing.
He was good at being a dead guy, that's for sure, where he's just like lying on that tree looking off into the distance. I wonder how they did the burial
Well, his
scene.
name was Bill McKinney, and he trained for the dying shots, apparently. He could hold his breath and not blink for 2 minutes.
Wow.
So there was no fake stuff in this. It was, if you see it, that's...
So he was buried. That was him being
Yeah.
buried. They're holding his arm. Man, you'd have to train for that, wouldn't you? Wow.
And they dig the grave with their hands and the arms sticking out. Oh my gosh. And
Yeah. And all I could think was, that's not going to last there for very long,
no.
because it'll start to smell.
And so they're back on the water trying to escape now. And, you know, poor Drew, he's like extremely morose about what happened. It was a vote against him to bury him.
Yeah, he was the only person who didn't vote.
Yeah.
And it was all on John Voight's character
Yeah.
to make the decision, because it was 2-2 and he had to make the deciding vote.
Oh my gosh. It was set up really well, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when the canoe breaks, and it's so intense. There's no music. It's just the river roaring, and the canoe just smashes into the rocks, and
Well, what happens is Drew doesn't put his life jacket on,
yeah,
and then he just suddenly stands up and falls forward into the lake,
yeah,
and everything goes to chaos.
yeah. So the canoe breaks, and then they sort of wash up on one side. They can't find Drew, and then you find out Burt Reynolds, Lewis has got like this pink stuff on his leg. His leg is just broken, like a compound fracture with this thing. It's so full on, man. Yeah, what did you think about that?
Yeah, no, very gripping. I did find it gripping.
Yeah.
You're wondering where it'll go from there, whether it's, is it going to be them just trying to survive to get back?
Yeah, you get this real feeling of paranoia because Reynolds, he says, oh, someone shot him from up there. And like, you don't know if he's just saying that.
Yeah, because you don't hear any shot or anything like that. He just sort of stands up and falls over. And Burt Reynolds' character is looking backwards. But he has no reason to lie. That's the thing.
Yeah. But you sort of got that doubt.
Yeah.
But they believe it, like John Voight and Bobby.
Well, I'm not sure if... what is John Voight's character? I keep calling
Ed.
Yeah. Good old Ed. He looks like he has doubts at first.
But then he comes up with a plan saying, well, if they did shoot, they're from up there. And then that's where he climbs up to try and, you know, get the arrow in.
And he climbs the cliff himself.
Oh my gosh.
Like that was... Well, obviously when we say that he did all of his own stunts, but I mean, he actually made that climb.
Yeah. It's so terrifyingly high as well.
Yeah. And then there's that scene where he makes it to the top, and he's just so exhausted that he just falls asleep.
It's so crazy. But like there's night for day stuff there where they shoot during the day and they just paint it to look like night. And
is that what was going on?
It looks a bit funny. It looks a bit...
It does look very... I didn't know what that was. I thought that they might have had like a green screen or something.
Yeah.
You know, and they're trying to superimpose it off into the background. So those were actual shots on the location. It's just...
They've darkened the sky. And I guess when I was thinking about it, it's impossible to shoot at night, really, because there's just no light and it's so remote. You know, that location of the gorge, it's pretty magnificent. there's no way you could fake that. So they've sort of just fudged it a bit.
Oh, I see. That makes sense.
But it was so freaky when he wakes up and there's a guy actually there. Like, I didn't know, like, if it was just, I don't remember this stuff. Yeah, there was actually the redneck there, the toothless guy.
Yeah, he's standing over, just looking down at the
with
cliff.
his gun.
And John Voight, he's not particularly savvy about it either. He's just like, he doesn't think, I should get into a better position or anything like that. It's just like, okay, got to do it now.
Yeah. And he did before have a fail with the deer, so that sort of set up that he's sort of, he's not feeling very sure about his ability to kill this guy.
Yeah, he's gets the shakes as he's trying to shoot, because it's just it's like he's trying to make the decision then when he should have made the decision much earlier.
Yeah, and he sort of freezes up and he takes a shot. You don't know what happened, but he falls over and he sticks an arrow in his own side.
He falls onto his own arrow.
It's just painful how inept they are.
Yeah.
So, like, you're expecting this adventure action sort of thing.
Yeah, it is so not that, eh?
It's not that. He falls on his own arrow.
It's like an R-rated City Slickers.
But then you see that the arrow landed and it got him in the neck.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
God.
right. He stands over him and is about to shoot, and he does the very Indiana Jones thing of falling over before he shoots. You don't know if he's dead or not.
Yeah, it was a bit, eh? But then they get the gun and he throws it in the lake, and I don't know why, man.
I was thinking, okay. Especially since the poster for this is a guy standing in the water holding a gun out of the water.
Yeah.
It's just like it was quite a surprise. That was like the twist of the film.
Just throw away your gun. You're not going to need that.
I don't need this here gun. It's not going to do us no good.
But oh my God, climbing down the cliff, it couldn't have been more elaborate because he uses the same rope as the dead body that he lowers down.
Yeah, that's right. He just, like, you're thinking, is he trying to get rid of the body and just drop it over the side? But no, he keeps it going down and down, and he uses the body's weight as leverage to get down there.
Oh my gosh, that was so fun.
It was really clever. It's just, he can't figure out how to kill a person, but he knows what to do with them once he's got the body.
I don't have many other notes for the next part, but I just remember Drew's arm when they finally find Drew's body and how it's contorted behind his head.
He's just looking pretty peaceful, except for arm just completely twisted over his head. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so graphic. And he's all pale. And
then they decide to take him with them.
They tie him to the side of the canoe, man. His arm is twisted behind the whole time.
Yeah, it's pretty full on with that. Just they've got Lewis sitting in the canoe screaming all the time, and this dead body just tied to the raft.
Yeah, it's just a really crazy setup.
Yeah, and then they give up, don't they? Like, I couldn't quite figure out, were they taking him to a place where they could drop him into the lake, or did they just think that they were going to be able to take him all the way with them? That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think you're right. And then they sort of gave up, and they have a little sort of impromptu burial where they tie these rocks to him. That was really moving for me, where he goes, he was a good husband, and then he just switches perspective and goes, "You were a wonderful father, Drew." Yeah, that was amazing acting, because Reynolds is in and out of consciousness in the boat, and Voight clutches at his side from where he stabbed himself with the arrow as he's getting back in. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was really good too, and Bobby chimes in a little bit as well, because he was a lot of dead weight throughout the film, and then he's pretty much used as a piece of meat in many ways. And then he does sort of, as they would probably say, man up somewhat. Yeah, like not complain as much, and realize the situation they're in and be a part of that. So in a way, it was a bit of a chance for him to sort of start to be in line with John Voight's character. Yeah. And it was sad that they ended up, having to put rocks on him and then bury him in the ground. in the water,
in
I
the
should
water,
say.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they make it back to civilization, but just before they go back in, they sort of Ed tells them that they can't, they have to make up a story that it all happened down here, and they can't send search parties back up because they'll find the bodies. And Lewis is completely broken at this point, and he's just like shaking.
He's like, whatever.
I understand, Ed.
I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. That's cool.
Yeah.
Just, get me to a doctor.
Oh my gosh. So it was like a complete turnaround from the start.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Just a turnaround from being the guys telling them what to do and how they know nothing, and to John Voight's character having to drive them and think this thing through.
So that was an amazing way to end that act. And then sort of Act 3 is, the suspicion of the authorities.
Or as I called it, bodies, beds, and brothers-in-law.
Brother-in-law, man.
Yeah. So they come out of the water, and there's this church there, and I didn't really think too much into the interpretation of that. And he walks and he finds that the cars have been left there by the mountain people. So they actually followed through on that, which was a bit of a question mark.
Yeah.
And then, they get the authorities to come.
And they're sort of just poking around, and they do sort of suspect because they're dragging the area that they said that it all happened, and they can't find anything. But one thing I thought was funny was when they actually stopped they have to wait for the church to get out of the way.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was just a really out of the blue piece of comedy there. So we may have to stop just a minute for the church to get out of the way.
They're moving the church.
They're driving along. Well, there's this church.
And then he actually says, Christ.
And they also, they stopped to have they got Lewis to the hospital, and Bobby's sitting with just a group of older people, and John Voight sits down, and they hand him some food, and that's when he starts to break down and let down his guard a bit and cry.
Yeah.
And then they start having just these relaxed conversation. And I was looking at one of the ladies she was just like, she had no teeth, and they were handing out corn, and I was thinking, how do you eat corn with no teeth? Because she's just, licking it, she's just smacking her lips. Yeah,
it just reminds me of a line, I might be missing teeth, but that just leaves more room for your tongue. Yeah, pretty mouth there, Peter.
Yeah. John Voight's pretty mouth. And that old lady's missing teeth.
So I didn't have much. It was a pretty standard resolution, they get away with it.
Yeah.
But I do remember that hand popping up out of the end.
And there was a dream.
Oh, I had this weird creepy feeling that he goes back to the river to bury the body again. I don't know if that's just my imagination as a 4-year-old.
I think that might have been, actually. But I can understand that's where your thoughts would go as a 4-year-old. Yeah. Because it wouldn't have been... Because it's that dream sequence cliche.
Yeah.
Where the hand pops up and then he wakes up and he's sweating and his wife tells him to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a quite a intense film, and I just like how John Voight looks at the writer who's playing the policeman with his teeth. His pearly whites with his against the purdy mouth.
Purdy mouth.
And he goes, I hope he finds his brother-in-law.
Oh, you mean just like he delivers it straight, like complete lie?
Stares him straight into the eye, straight in to the policeman's eye.
Yeah.
And the guy who's saying they know something, but they haven't got anything against him, so they have to let
it was
him go.
all left very sort of open. It was, I quite like that. But how would you sort of rate this film, having seen it now?
Oh, it's an excellent film. Just the feeling of the tension around the survival aspects and the realism of the film, and the tension of it's not the monsters in the forest you have to worry about. It's the monster that is man.
Yeah, that's true. This film has like a high nostalgia meter rating for me, mainly with the banjo scene. But I remember both of my parents liked this film, and my mum's being into thrillers and all of that. So
Yeah.
I've always been exposed to these darker films, and there's a darker side to me, definitely. But I enjoyed revisiting it. It's an amazing film. It's really well crafted, and there's extremely sort of bold and courageous decisions by the people involved.
Well, I should also say that with regards to the stunts, them doing their own stunts, they didn't actually have any insurance either.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
There's actually a comment in the film, a quote, about not having insurance. I think that was actually a slight jibe
It's a
at...
throwaway. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
But you really feel those sort of decisions as a viewer. You appreciate the rawness of it, I think, when you're watching it.
Yeah, you do when they survive.
And I would highly recommend it to anyone.
I'd recommend it too, but let them know that it is R-rated for a reason.
Thanks for that, Peter.
So we may be having some guests coming up where we have to organise who comes first. But yeah, we're looking forward to that, getting some other people's titles, getting some people's views on these films, and yeah, looking forward to that. So we'll keep you up to date, but thanks again for listening. We're doing this for our enjoyment of film, but we're also doing it in hopes that others will enjoy these movies that we've enjoyed for many years.
Yeah.
Or not enjoyed, as the case may be.
Yeah. Thanks again, everyone.
Thanks very much. You gonna know Fear and Fan is gonna stop soon, don't you know, Derek?
Peter, my love for you is like diarrhea. I can't hold it in.
Oh, Derek, those words come from your pretty mouth are just like gold to me.
Good night. Stop.